There is no God, some dare to say. Well, the Christian needs to know that there is a growing emphasis and aggressiveness on the part of atheists in America. And just recently, the atheists have put up a big billboard all across America, I guess, but they were not able to put it up in one of the areas near New York. They had intended to put up a billboard that said, you know it is a myth, talking about God, and they put it up in Hebrew and in Arabic, and of course both the Jews and the Arabs believe there is a God, as well as the Christians, and the community was strongly Jewish and also Arabic, and so the people that owned the property said, no, you can't put up that bulletin board here, and so they wouldn't allow them to publish it in preparation for a great rally they claim, the largest gathering of atheists ever in the history of America or of the world. And so the atheist makes this bold statement, there is no God. Well, let me tell you first of all, friend, that is an extremely presumptuous statement. And they cannot know that for a fact. And in fact, let me just try to illustrate it to you. Suppose that a friend drops by your house and then leaves and calls later, male or female wouldn't make a difference, and says, you know what, I lost a diamond ring at your house when I was stopped there to visit you. And you can't say to that person, no, you did not lose your ring in my house. Your ring is not in my house. How could you make that statement? You couldn't make that statement just by taking a quick look at the carpet in the living room. You would have to search every corner of the house. And only then could you say, I don't think your ring is at my house. Well, the friend might say, well, I'll come over and look for it. I think I might know where I dropped it. So you say, sure. So the friend comes over, they look through the house, and they can't find the ring. And so you say, well, I'm pretty sure the ring isn't at my house, but you're still not 100% sure, neither is the friend. And so perhaps the friend, so desperate to get this ring back, will say, well, I'm going to hire a detective who has special skills and even equipment to fine-tune the search and to look carefully, microscopically as it were, through your house to find my diamond ring. And so the detective comes, and the detective looks through the house, and the detective says, there's no ring here. And so then you might possibly be able to say with a good deal of conviction, your diamond ring is not in my house. Friends, to say there is no God would mean that a person who claims this, or even if they want to pair up into a society, they would have to search every corner of this globe, every dark corner of the jungles, every high peak of the mountains, every low spot of the oceans, every hidden cave. They would have to search the entire earth. And then, of course, they would have to go to the planets of the solar system and search the solar system and say, there's no God. But even then they wouldn't be able to say there's no God, because you'd have to go to the cosmos. You'd have to search the stars. And of course it would take 1,000,000 years to get to many of the stars. And so even then a person could not say there is no God, because it would take more than 1,000,000 lifetimes to search the stars, the heavens, the entire cosmos, to be able to say there is no God. So it is an extremely prejudiced and presumptuous statement to say there is no God. How do you know there's no God? Have you searched the universe? And then beyond that, you would have to say, well, someone else comes up and says, but I found God. And so you would have to say, well, I deny that person's knowledge of God. See, you can say, well, there is no God as far as I'm concerned. But then somebody else says, well, I've searched, I've used different tools than you have, and I have found there is a God. You know, for example, way back in the 1600s, people did not believe in microorganisms. We have come to call them commonly germs, or the amoeba, if you will. And it was back in was 1680, the Royal Society, Anthony Leeuwenhoek, claimed that he had discovered amoeba, microscopic one-celled organism, and the Royal Society, this is in Britain, almost refused to acknowledge him. They said he's a quack. But he said, all right, you check my work out and see. And so they did. They checked out his work, and they said, yes, he's right. There are microscopic one-celled organisms. And so they gave him admission into the Royal Society in 1680. Well, Louis Pasteur came along, and he said there's no such thing as spontaneous generation. He said it is microscopic organisms that get into water or another liquid and cause it to decay or become rancid or ferment if it was alcohol. And so he proved that the germ theory. But you know that as late as almost 1880s, babies were dying and mothers were dying because these medical students came from working on cadavers and didn't wash their hands. And even as late as the 1850s, this doctor was having difficulty getting them to wash their hands before they went from working in the laboratory to working to examining patients in the obstetric wards, babies and so on. They were spreading germs, and the patients were dying. Now we're talking about as late as 1850 now, as late as 1850. You see, the doctors, the scientists said there's no such thing as disease spread by germs, even though Pasteur had already proved the existence of germs, and so had others, but they were still having trouble. They said there's no such thing as germs, but there were such a thing. It's just that they didn't know that they existed, and they didn't know they had the strength and the power to cause disease and even death. And so they said, well, there's no such thing as germs, and so we're not going to wash our hands. And there was a great contest on, and finally they got the doctors to wash their hands between patients. Now, of course, the doctors know this, and they'll even put on rubber gloves as they're examining a patient. But you see, the statement, there's no God, doesn't make sense. Because to make that statement conclusively, one would have to have examined the universe completely and said, I've searched and he's not there. One would have to look at the testimony of those who say they found him and say it's discredited testimony. Then one would even have to project into the future and say there will never be any future means available to man to understand and know God. And so there is no God. You see, it's extremely presumptuous to make that statement. It's just not sense. And so it's a fool that says there's no God. You can't know that. And there's no possible way a human can know that there is no God. Now we reverse it the other way around. They say, well, you prove to me that there is God. So we'll talk about that side of it too as we go on with this presentation.
So just stopping for a moment to check out this first point. It is total presumption to say that there is no God. One would have to, as I've said, search throughout the entire cosmos and come back and say he's not there. And of course that's not something man can do. I'm switching here to just an audio track so I can put some pictures on the screen, make it more interesting, from my family album, pictures of family and pictures of scenes and so on. Let's go on to the second point. Many things do exist which cannot be seen. For example, we know the reality of love and hate and anxiety and fear and joy and so many other things, understanding. These things are not something you could put in a test tube. You can't weigh them, measure them, see what color they are. They don't have those features, but they're still very real. And so man has the ability to know things that are actually really beyond the scientific method. To say that we know nothing and believe in nothing beyond the scientific method would be absolutely ludicrous. Because we do. Our whole lives are filled with things that we cannot put in a test tube and we cannot experience by the scientific method. And in fact, God put that ability in you. You can know God. The Bible says in John chapter 1, verse 9, and by the way, when I say the Bible says, I know some people, the hair stands up on the back of their neck and they said, oh, there we go again with the Bible says. But listen, friend, the Bible's called the Holy Bible, and that's because it's not full of lies. People try to tell you it's full of lies and full of mysticism and it's just a sham. It's not. It's the Holy Bible. It's full of truth. But John said, there was a true light, which lighteth every man that cometh into the world. You have the capacity to find God today, in the next 10 minutes. You have the capacity to know God in your spirit, the same way that you know love and joy and hate, understanding, happiness. It's there. It's not something you can put your finger on and grab it and squeeze it, but it is real. And you can know God because God has given you a spirit that can tune into him. Through the power of faith and prayer, you can know God. My third point is that, and it's the strongest of all, how do we know there's a God? The proof of God? Well, he was here. He came to the earth. He lived here for 33 years. You see, Christians have thrown away the greatest proof there is of God in their complicated dogmas of their understanding of God. See, Jesus was not God the Son incarnate. He was the eternal God, the one person that God is, the eternal Father. He was God, the eternal Father, the God who fills all space, but he was incarnate in human form. Jesus was the Father. He was the Son of God because he was born of the Virgin Mary, but he was God himself incarnate in a human form, the Word made flesh. And that means he was God, the eternal Father, the Almighty, made flesh. Now, in his earthly experience, he limited himself to some things. He did marvelous, wonderful things way beyond our imagination, but at the same time, he was still limited. But when he rose again from the grave, he said, all power is given unto me in heaven, in heaven and in earth. In other words, I am the Almighty. And he said that. Isaiah said it. He said, the child that's born shall be called the everlasting Father. Jesus said it in John 14. He said, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. And so Jesus is the eternal God. How do I know God? I know God the same way I know Abraham Lincoln, Napoleon, George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, anyone else in the pages of history. Take out your wallet, look at the pictures on your money, and you'll see some of these early fathers. How do I know them? I know them through the pages of history. I can know God through the pages of history because he walked the earth for 33 years. I have the record of him, both in the historian's pen and in the Bible. Josephus, for example, he wasn't a Bible writer. He was a historian. He wrote about Jesus and some of the marvelous things that he did. And so we have history. I know George Washington through the pages of history. You say, well, prove to me that God is real. Okay, let's take the history book out. Let's take the encyclopedia out. Let's go to Josephus. Let's go back to the pages of history. You know God the same way you know Abraham Lincoln. And not only that, but see, God was here on other occasions even before that, but he took on a special form. For example, God came down, visited Abraham. In the pages of history in the Jewish tradition, it's true, it's not lies. God sat down with two angels and had dinner with Abraham across the table. Abraham had Sarah prepare dinner. God and Abraham talked. And God was here for a short time, appeared to Abraham, and then disappeared again. He was here. He has been here several times. These are not lies.
It doesn't depend just on the Bible. We have Josephus, for example, telling us that Jesus did exist. He's a historian. Are we going to just mangle all the books in the library because you happen not to personally have experienced everything that's written about? You see, we know Abraham Lincoln because he's in the history books. He's in the history of America. Now, you can know that God is real because he was here on the earth for 33 and a half years. His name was Jesus. You can read that in the encyclopedia, or read that in Josephus. You can read that in the Bible. Those are just facts. So somebody says there's no such thing as God. Absolute ridiculous nonsense. God was here on the earth. He was born in Bethlehem. He lived in the nation now known as Israel, then known as Israel, for 33 years. And somebody is that ridiculous and that stupid as to say there's no God. Well, you'd be just as well off to say there was no Abraham Lincoln, there was no Napoleon, there was no George Washington, there was no Benjamin Franklin. Who would believe you? Now, I want to ask you the simple question, who's going to believe you now? If you say there's no God when God was here on the earth for 33 and a half years. Say there is no God, it doesn't exist. He was here. Jesus Christ is the eternal God, the Father, incarnate in human form. That's the best proof and the best argument. Now, to finish it off, Jesus gave them warning ahead of time. He told his own people, he told the Jews and the Romans, and the Jews even knew, they heard him say it, and they even sealed the tomb where Jesus was buried after he was crucified. They sealed the tomb and said, we're going to keep him in there. But they couldn't keep him in. The stone was rolled away, and Jesus was gone. Now, if there's no God, then there would have been a body in the tomb. But if there is a God, the tomb is empty. And everybody in the whole world tried to fill it. The Romans wanted his body there. The Jews wanted his body there, the Greeks wanted his body there, and even the Christians wanted his body there. Because the disciples thought, well, he's dead, and so at least we can go honor his body. And on that resurrection morning, they went looking for the body, but disappointed the body wasn't in the tomb. So Greeks, Romans, Jews, and Christians all wanted a body in the tomb. And God denied them. Why? Because God exists and the tomb is empty. God came in the flesh. You couldn't hold him in a tomb. It's impossible. He's God. He came out the third day. Jesus said, destroy this body in 3 days, I'll raise it up. Because he's God. He's God. You say there's no God. That's absolute rubbish. You might as well tell me there's no such thing as the sun. There's no such thing as the earth. And there's no such thing as Abraham Lincoln or George Washington or America or any of this stuff. You're living in a fantasy world if you say there's no God. Because God was here on the earth for 33 years. And I'll tell you, friend, the proof is so conclusive. You see, the proof is so conclusive that you need to do something about it now. If you don't believe in the reality of God, you will 13 seconds after you die. You'll believe in the life beyond and the world beyond, and that'll be too late for you, but you can do something about it now. So Christian friends, stand up to those neighbors. Stand up to those folks who say there's no God. We have proof. We have reality. It's on our side. Not only that, but we have all kinds of people today have been resuscitated from death. They have experienced after death. Some have even died and been dead for hours and come back. They've been resurrected, and they've told us there's life beyond. There's a world beyond. There's a heaven and there's a hell. And so you have to make your choice. And those who don't believe in God, of course, you have to have faith to go up, so you know where you're going. And so those who believe in God, they're going up if their faith is a living faith and they've had a transforming experience called the new birth, and they continue to walk with God. They're going up when they die. There is a heaven. Some that die go there. Some that die go there. And everybody goes there or there. And so everybody's going to believe in God 13 seconds after they die. But the point is, everybody needs to believe it now. And you, Christian friends, should be telling your friends, don't be cowered down.
Now, the
by
fourth
atheism.
point
It's
I want to go to is the Bible tells me so, and I'm sure that this will be least appreciated by the strong atheist or agnostic. But, friend, remember that this book that I'm quoting from is the Holy Bible. Please don't let anybody tell you that it's full of myths and lies. It's not. It's the Holy Bible. It's full of truth. And the Holy Bible says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Now, just think how true that statement is. You don't even believe that the house next door just happened. Hebrews, the Bible in the book of Hebrews says, of course, every house was built by someone. You believe that, I believe that, everybody believes it. You can't convince anybody that's sane on this earth that houses just appeared on the earth. You can't. Every house is built. Of course every house is built by somebody. And yet we have people want us to believe that the earth, the moon, the sun, the solar system, the cosmos, the stars, all that is just happened. Nobody made it? Oh no. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. If you can't believe that your neighbor's house, there was an empty lot there. You see, I have another thing here on another message. Look it up. It's called Foolish Science 13. Listen to it. It just doesn't make sense to believe. And so God created the heaven and the earth. We have to believe that. And in Deuteronomy 32, verse 39, he says, see now, I, even I am he, there's no God with me. I kill and make alive, I wound, I heal, neither is there any can deliver out of my hand. Isaiah 43:10, he said, you are my witnesses, saith the Lord, Jehovah, and my servant whom I have chosen, and that ye may know and believe me and understand that I am he. Before me there was no God formed, neither shall there be after me. Jesus came along in John chapter 8, verse 24, and he said, therefore, I say therefore unto you that ye shall die in your sins. If ye believe not that I am he, ye shall die in your sins. See, God said, I am he. There's no God with me, no God before me, no God after me. Jesus came along and said, I am he. If you don't believe that, you shall die in your sins. Jesus was saying the same thing the eternal God said. He said, I am he. And again in 13:9 of John, he said, now I tell you before it come to pass, that when it's come to pass, ye may believe that I am he. He was talking about his death and his burial. He told him ahead of time, said, I'm going to die. But in 3 days, he said, I'm going to raise up again. He said, you're going to destroy this body, you Jewish people and you Romans. But he said, I'm going to take it up again in 3 days, and you can't stop me. All the power of Rome, all the power in the world, all the power of nuclear bombs, all the power of America, nobody can stop me because I'm God. I'm coming out the third day. If there's no God, there'd have been a body in the tomb. But since there is a God, there was no body in the tomb. Everybody wanted one there. The Romans killed him. They wanted it there. The Jews hated him. They wanted it there. And the Greeks were learners. They didn't believe in this stuff. They wanted a body in the tomb. Even the Christians wanted a body in the tomb on resurrection morning. They looked for him. He was gone, and they were disappointed. They wanted to find his body. But God denied the entire world and all the power that man has and all the forces of the earth and all the forces of hell. God denied them a body in the tomb. That's how I know he's God. Jesus was God, because if he had not been God, there would have been a body in the tomb. Every other religious leader left a tomb. Jesus said there's going to be no body in my tomb, because on the third day I'm coming up because I'm God. That's your proof of God. The Bible tells me so. The resurrection proves it. And so, friend, fill the tomb and you can believe there's no God. But as long as the tomb remains empty, there is a God. I leave it with you, friend. If you don't believe any of this, well, just hold on to your britches. About 20, 25 years from now, you'll see God face to face in the sky. He's coming back. And so just hang on. You're going to meet him. But it'll be bad for you if you wait till then. Why don't you do it now? You have an ability in you to call on God right now in prayer and say, God, I want to know you. If you're really real, prove yourself to me. And God has put within man a receptor that's able to reach out and touch and know God in the Spirit. Now, that's not the same as knowing God in the face of Jesus Christ, who is a historical figure just like Abraham Lincoln. That's different. But you can also know God today in the Spirit. That's a second way you can know God. You can know him in your spirit. If you call on him, ask him sincerely to prove himself to you, God will show himself to you, and you can be saved, and you can go to heaven, and you will not have to face God in the judgment bar and go to hell. We have all kinds of evidence. People that have been resuscitated from death, they've said, well, some of them said, well, when I died, I went up into a beautiful place. Others say, I went down to an awful place. And, everybody either goes up or down, up or down. You have to make a choice, and what you do in this world determines when you die if you're going to go up or you go down. Let me tell you, friend, you'll believe in God 13 seconds after you die, but that's too late. Why don't you check it out now? See if you can find God, first of all, in the pages of history. Read the Bible. Second of all, in prayer. Call on God today. Ask him to show himself to you. You have a receptor inside of you that will tell you the reality of God, your spirit. God put it in you. You can know God through your spirit. The same way you know love or hate. It's not that far. It's not far out. It's very simple. And so I leave it with you. God is real. You can know him today, this morning, this afternoon, this evening. You can know God today.
He not only on the moon, he turns the stars on every night. Sometimes he washes this earth, then he spins it dry. He's coming back to earth again, maybe morning, night, or noon. I'm going home with the one who hung